systematic chaos through RX is what I'm going to talk about. Also, we're going to look at the National Library of Medicine. We're going to go into this, how some of these things out there that we think we were told was there to help us was really compromising and changing as an attack our minds, our brains. See, after World War II, there was a project that you can look up called Project Paperclip, where a lot of the German scientists came into the United States. Unbeknownst to us, we didn't understand what that was all about and how that would change modern medicine, right, altogether. And I'm being very guarded here on YouTube. Well, they had this fascination with understanding the brain. Now, we thought the understanding was to help progress health, and to help us progress towards a more healthier life in the earth, right? A better quality of life for those, since medicine would advance after Project Paperclip. Well, something else happened. Let me put it that way. I'm going to talk about that on the other side. That's the most that I can say right now. That's the most I can say right now, okay? But to tie it in, for a lot of you brothers and sisters who may not be on Patreon, let me just put this scripture out there for you real quick. Because I know I'm speaking in vague terms, but there's certain things I can't say on here because they would never have us connect the dots for you here. Okay? They would never have, and it's intentional. There's certain things you can't talk about on this platform without them taking it down. And that lets you know those particular scenarios or those particular topics that they try to have us avoid, it's their skeleton key for control. It's their skeleton key for control. So if you know and can avoid certain things, they lose their power over your brain. It's about your temple. It's all about your temple, folks. So when it comes to what they would call mental disorders and all these other things, folks, wait till you're on the other side with Patreon. And I'm going to open up, I will open up Zoom almost immediately to talk with some of you. Now, just for the remedy side of things, according to the scriptures, now let me move that out of the way. I'm going to talk about that a little later. I'm going to move that out of the way. Hold on. Just from the biblical perspective of being able to overcome and gain your senses in order to fight with what they administered in you that actually affects your brain. In 2 Peter 1 and 3, there's a resolve to know yourself. According as his divine power have given us all things that pertain to life and godliness, through the knowledge of him that have called us to glory and virtue, Wherefore are given unto us exceeding great precious promises, that by these you might be partakers of the divine nature. And this is what they are attacking, folks. There's something in people inherently that's good. And they know this. It's a divine nature. There's no such thing as a child being born wicked or evil. Sin is a learned behavior, and they know it. So the attack is against our divine nature. Now, let me tell you, if you have full power of that nature, there is no depression. There is no regret. There is no feeling sad in comparison to everyone's life, thinking that, okay, my life should have been this or my life should have been that, because you're able to resolve your current existence and what? You're content with it. You're content. Having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. Now, here's the key. To overcome initially, now there's a physical healing, but it must be a what? A reckoning. There must be a recognizing of the entry of any spirit that's adverse or contrary to us. And besides this, giving all diligence, add to your faith virtue, and to your virtue knowledge, and to knowledge temperance. Now, why is temperance so important? When the spirit that entered a person is recognized, they're triggered. When someone is triggered, that's actually recognizing something else in them that's contrary to the nature. So they have, through abuse and all of this, folks, demons and people have put up protection barriers, have placed protection barriers in people. And when the spirit is recognized, it's a trigger and they go off. And when they go off or stop the conversation from happening, what happens? We begin to talk about something else, and now the demon can go back dormant. See how it works? So when people are pointing out something that's against the nature of Christ in a person, and they begin to come back knowing they're wrong, you're not dealing with that person. It's a defense mechanism. It's a trigger. Into knowledge, temperance. So again, I can't go into it all over here, but I'll talk about it on Patreon. So how do one overcome when they're triggered? They don't respond in the like. And see, you may see this about people who recognize something ain't right in them, but you can see in their eyes when you say certain things and they're looking around and all of this, they're holding themselves because they know it's the spirit in them. They've learned how to live with the spirit through coping, through masking. They'll go to their psychologist, their psychiatrist, and they'll get certain stuff. But guess what? It's only a cope. But the spirit still remains. Temperance, and through temperance, patience, and patience, godliness. See, all of these attributes is your initial fight against what was placed in us. Willingly and or unwillingly, something was administered. So I'm going to talk about that on the other side. Right? I'm going to talk about that because unless there's true contentment with who we are and how the Most High made us, even if we decide not to follow these holy days and just use a lot of our holy days, it helps that we have that we have dedication instead of Thanksgiving. It helps us because we have something in its place. But what if we had nothing at all? Would we still be content? See? I need y'all to think about the faith of Abraham. The faith of Abraham was shown before the law was given to Moses. See? There was no feast of dedications. That time hadn't arrived as of yet. Okay? There was no Passover feast. That time hadn't arrived as of yet. But without any of that, even though the Egyptians and others were dealing with all these satanic holidays that we see today, it was named something else. There was true contentment in Abraham. There was true contentment, a peace to a degree that the Most High seen something in this man. That same man that he would actually bring his son through. It was the divine nature. And I'm going to show you on the other side how Satanists, scientists worked in the background to administer these things and what we need to do going forward to make sure that our children don't have to suffer through the trauma we have gone through. To make sure that our children become the kingdom people that the Most High intended from the beginning. And it cannot happen without our protection. Hence the reason why they've worked to separate family. I'll see you over on Patreon. Patreon.com/agathering144 to talk about this. Now, before I go, just let me give you a quick reminder that, yes, we are going into week 4 of the Hebrew and Bible Academy, in which we'll be diving into who is Edom, and we're going to also tie in to who's Edom, them going out into space, setting their nest amongst the stars. Esau's true plan aligned with the Canaanite god he served, Yahweh, which is Satan. The Most High name is Ahiah. Ahiah is the Most High's name. Yahweh is the Canaanite god, and they have lied to the world through the satanic tetragrammaton. Yahweh is Jovi. Jovi is Zeus and or Jupiter. Okay. English. One second. If I can. They've taken down a lot of my videos that have exposed this wickedness they've been dealing with for years, right?